Ron, in your reevaluation after going over the film, what were the key things that stuck out to you?
Well, I think on the defensive side was the undisciplined nature of some of the plays we had. That was probably the toughest thing. Again, as I always tell you guys, we got to go back and as we look at it, could we have put in them different positions? Yeah, there were probably a couple we could have, but there were some plays that we played with an undisciplined nature, which is disappointing. Because we were saying that at the end of the day, the play doesn't care who makes it. So you've got to do your job. You got to be where you're supposed to, and the play will come to you. And unfortunately, we got ahead of ourselves. Trying to make plays, trying to do too much.
Are you referring specifically to the plays over the top, the big plays over the top?
Well, I'm referring to for the most part, plays that happen in the game. There are a few plays that, if we're where we need to be, we got a chance to stop the run. If we're where we need to be, we got a chance to stop some of the plays up over the top.
Taylor indicated he wasn't sure about next week as far as his playing status is going to held. Where does he stand right now?
Well, he's getting an MRI, and we'll probably have more, on it come Wednesday, when we get back together. And I just think right now he's going to go through it with the docs, and we'll go from there. I mean, I don't know a lot about it. I really haven't had a chance to sit down and talk about it. So we'll see later on this afternoon, but we'll have probably a better idea come Wednesday morning.
Hyperextended elbow, or?
I'm not sure. Like I said, I have not gotten into it with the doctors. I try to tell you guys, I'm trying to stay out of that part of it because, again, every time somebody always has something to say about it. So,
hey, Ron, if it ends up being not good, would you have to sign a guy?
Well, we'll see, but I don't want to get those hypotheticals yet, Joe. I mean, we really won't have a better feel to either later today or probably good feel on it by Wednesday for sure.
I guess the only other option would be activating Cam. Is that something you'd like to stay away from?
Well, again, I don't want to get in those hypotheticals, but yeah.
We were actually kind of discussing this yesterday. We aren't clear on who I guess the emergency quarterback is. Is it Mike Punter? Mike Flaherty?
Well, there are some things that we can do, and we've discussed it, and we've gone through it, and we've practiced a little bit of it. So, but we'll go from there. I mean, I don't want to get into hypotheticals on those either.
Kind of lost in the losing streak in the past few weeks has been the play of Christian, who every week it seems like more and more kind of records are falling, and his incorporation in the offense, he's such a foundational piece. How much has he meant to not just the offense but to the team in general this season?
Well, I think anytime you have a player playing at such a high level, it means a great deal to your team, to your offense. And again, he's done a great job for us, and really do appreciate his effort every week.
Is there anything that you feel like is too much to ask of him? I mean, obviously he's running, throwing, blocking, receiving. I mean, is there anything that he kind of can't do on the offensive side?
No, I think he can do it all for you. He's a solid football player. Again, we got to be smart about it going forward. We've got to make sure that we have all those other pieces we need to be in place. And again, there's a group of young guys that are playing receiver. They've done a great job for us, and they got to continue to learn and grow at their position as well.
Seems like there's been a lot of snaps for those young guys,
Yes, there
AJ
has.
and Curtis. And how have you seen their growth from week
Yes,
to week?
most certainly. You see their ability to be explosive. And you see the veteran guys around them doing the same thing. Got a chance to see Ian play a little bit more, and that was a lot of fun to watch, and he's growing as well. And Chris Manhertz, I mean, guys like that are guys that can help you going down the road. So, these are guys that we got to continue to put out there on the field and continue to watch them develop.
Ron, a young guy on the defensive side, Jermaine Carter, kind of filled in for Shaq. What'd you think of his performance?
I thought he did some really good things, really pleased with that, getting the opportunity to see a young linebacker out there run around. He had a couple plays that I'd like to see him make. One particular was a little swing to the fullback. He was in great position off that, and he was waiting for the ball to come to him. He's got to realize he's not the intended receiver, and he's got to go after the ball and make plays. I mean, he's got that kind of skill set you like. There was one play in particular that they run a stretch play that bounced outside, and with his athleticism, he chased it down. So you see the glimpses of what he's capable of as a football player.
How did Rashawn do yesterday?
Thought Rashawn played well in his opportunities to go out there, and again, it's one of those things that when you're in the position we are, you do have to watch these young guys and got to give them opportunities. So, and we'll look to do that next week, obviously.
You've used the term position catastrophe before. Would that be even more so if it happens at the quarterback position this late in the year?
Yeah, you could say that, but we'll see. Again, it's one of those things that he'll see he'll get an MRI, he'll see the doctors, and we'll see what happens. But that's one of the things that you always try to prepare for. You're never really quite ready for it. We had a tough go at it early on in the year with the offensive line, and again, I thought some of the things that we were able to do early on were good, and I think it just kind of some of these guys just kind of wore down as the season went.
As you want to see some more young guys out there, could you foresee some discussions this week of looking at guys like Christian and Luke and perhaps either not playing them or not playing them?
Well, what we got to do is we have to be smart with these guys. We really do going forward, and we also got to get an opportunity to evaluate. I mean, we're all being evaluated. We're going to be evaluated, for this last game. We'll be evaluated for the season, and we want to be able to have some stuff to go back on some of these young guys.
Ron, I know you don't want to speculate. I'm not asking you to do that, but it does seem that there are some parallels in terms of what the decision-making process is for a quarterback who's going through an injury that has so much of a gray area with what happened with Andrew Luck. Have you guys taken any of that into consideration as you kind of try to research and do a big picture body of what is best for Cam Newton and make those decisions?
Well, I can tell you that our doctors, our training staff, along with Cam, have really discussed a lot of things, and they're probably still formulating that. I mean, they're gonna exhaust every avenue in terms of preparing this some sort of program, some sort of plan going forward into the postseason, preseason. So it'll be interesting to see, what is, what they come up with, obviously, but it's something that's most certainly been discussed, something that's probably still being discussed and researched, and we'll know soon enough.
Ron, how do you approach this week? I mean, you talked about wanting to rest, potentially, or be smart with guys on one side of the equation, but then also mentioned being evaluated. How do you kind of go into this week 17?
Well, you go into week 17, obviously trying to win, first and foremost. But at the same time, we have to be smart. We have to be realistic, and be honest, and we do have to approach it that this is any other week. You prepare to play football. You prepare to win a football game, and then you go from there.
Ron, as you look back on the season as well and try to capitalize on what was good, even though it was a tough season, are there a few big bright spots that you saw this season that you can use?
Well, certainly. I think, first and foremost, we talked about how Christian has integrated himself into our offense, how Coach Turner's integrated him into our offense, and how he's fit and done the things that he's done. Some of the things you also talk about, the use of the young wide receivers, their development, their growth as football players, the development and the steps our quarterback took under Norv and the offensive coaches. So there's a lot of huge pluses there. I like some of the things that happened on the defensive side in terms of some of the growth of some of the younger players. Watching Dante Jackson do the things that he's done. Now, he's made some mistakes and given up some plays, but at the same time, you've also seen some things that have told you he's potentially can be a really good player for us. I like how Eric Reed has played for us at the safety position. He's done a lot of nice things. James Bradbury has played very well the last couple of weeks and played well early on. He had a stint, though. He didn't do the things that he's capable of and had a little down moment. So, but getting a chance to really evaluate it all be an interesting time for us in terms of looking at the different positions that we had some growth and some areas that we can get better at.
What's that process like? You have so much to manage. How do you narrow it down to some priorities that you can get done and make better?
Well, I think the biggest thing, obviously, is we'll look at some of the weaknesses that we feel we have, and obviously it'll start with the numbers. We'll break things down and we'll look at certain areas we weren't good enough at, and then we'll look at the areas that we were good at and try to figure out how we can improve on being better. I think that's probably the biggest thing is just trying to find out where we need to improve and how can we improve.
Even though this game doesn't mean much in the standings in that regard, but how important is it just to kind of end this, go in the off season with a win, beat a division opponent, and just how far would that go?
It would go a long way. Believe me, winning goes a long way. It cures a lot of the ills, and that's one thing we haven't been able to do. Obviously, and that's a disappointment. This is a what have you done for me lately league, and I get that part of it. So again, you do want to finish on a high note. You do want to finish doing the things that you're capable of, and we'll see what happens.
You, kind of revisiting the coaching tree as we do from time to time, but you had the benefit of patience early in your tenure here. Reports are surfacing for Steve, as they kind of do around this time of year. What's your evaluation of that situation and how he's doing as a?
I won't talk about somebody else's situation. I mean, our situation is tough enough as it is, and it's, but I will say, and you're right, I was fortunate enough to have an owner that was patient, give me an opportunity to grow and actually work with me in terms of growing, helping me find a mentor, somebody to sit down and talk with and visit with, and I really appreciate that, and somebody that would, bring me in and talk with me and discuss things. A lot in the vein of what Mr. Tepper's done recently. We've sat down, we've talked a lot about going forward and the best way to approach things and things that, you can do in leadership positions. So I think that's valuable when you have an owner that's going to, understand and look at things and see things and work things out.
That note, though, Thomas Davis was talking last week about the uncertainty he faced and how that was tough for him to deal with. How would you describe what you're dealing with?
I'm dealing with getting ready for New Orleans. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. I know, we all get evaluated, but, I got a job to do, and that's prepare for the Saints.
What was the message yesterday, and then two-part, what's the schedule this week?
Well, two parts is, we got a game left to play, and we expect to go out and prepare and play to win, and to win the football game. That's basically the message, and we'll go from there. I mean, we're all being evaluated. I did say that. And at the end of the day, we'll be judged based on that.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, cool. Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas. The guys are off today, tomorrow, and then we come back Wednesday at 8 a.m. All right.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, guys.